Hey everyone, it's Jack from the Cardboard Herald. 2023 is rolling to a close, so it's time to do the thing. Run down my personal picks for the top 10 greatest games of 2023 with a couple little caveats here. Bear in mind, I haven't played all the games. I have not managed to play even half the games that have come out this year. So if your list differs from my list, that's okay. We can have our own list, but this is mine, Jack's from the Cardboard Herald. So the second caveat, which I needed to come back to once I started editing, is that I have a couple games that are honorable mentions in waiting. For Christmas, I ended up getting Undaunted Battle of Britain, which I'm a huge fan of the Undaunted series. You'll hear a little bit more about the designers for that later on in the video, but I have since played it once and it's really good. I'm thinking that if I had more time for it to marinate, it would likely displace something else on this list. The other thing is I have a couple honorable mentions of games that I particularly want to get to this year. I want to play a ton of them, but Heat and Sleeping Gods Distant Skies, which Sleeping Gods Distant Skies is on the shelf over there. I just need to work some more on our Frosthaven campaign before I'm going to get over to that one. And I'm a huge fan of Flamme Rouge, so I suspect that all the hype for Heat is going to pan out for me too. But, they couldn't be on the list because I haven't played them yet. Now, let's get back to the rest of the video. All right, number 10 is a very recent game on this list, but one that I've been anticipating for a long time, and that is the Fox Experiment, designed by Elizabeth Hargrave and coming in from Pandasaurus Games. It was recently delivered. I was so ecstatic to get my hands on it, and it's really good. I have a lot of fun with this. This is one of the best outings by Pandasaurus as far as like a deeper game, a deeper experience. It's the first time that one has really gripped me. And I really love the nuanced decisions that you have in trying to, breed these foxes so that way subsequent generations have deeper pools. I think there's a lot of thematic resonance that happens in conveying this complex biological idea. But also there's enough game in there to really kind of latch on to some core ideas. And the integration of the dry erase markers and naming your foxes gives it such a cute feel without interfering with the overall operations of the game. Number 9 is a word game, which if you had told me at the beginning of the year that I'd be putting a word game on this list, I wouldn't have believed you because these are really hit or miss with me. But nonetheless, Fiction is our number 9 pick. Yeah, this is essentially a Cardboardian adaptation of Wordle with a couple unique, interesting twists. There's a social element in which you're lying about a particular letter when you're giving the feedback to the players, so there is more of a competition, a contention between you as the clue giver and the people at the table. Nonetheless, I like how close it is to such an established and widely loved game like Wordle that was a complete phenomenon throughout the pandemic, and now I can have something for people who aren't necessarily deep board gamers, give them something to latch onto. This is a new access point. It's a really lovely, concise game. It's one of the best all-play games to come out this year, though not the best, as we'll see shortly, and it just has such broad accessibility, applicability, and playability that makes it perfect for the holidays, which, hey, we just had those, and yeah, it's still held up from the time of release to now, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. Number 8 is Dune Imperium Uprising, the subsequent, the sequel, the secondary box of Dune Imperium, which was so much of a hit not too long ago. And I think a lot of people are going to want this higher on the list, which it is a really good game. Dune Imperium is a very good game. Dune Imperium Uprising is even better as a standalone box than Dune Imperium was. Though, if you went to my review, you'd notice that there were some feelings I was having about just the existence of these two parallel products and what it really means for the Imperium sort of retinue. And thus, I just couldn't put it higher up on the list, which these are all arbitrary lists based off of subjective decisions, so I guess my reasoning is just as good of any. But it is a game that I really enjoyed. I really like playing. I really love the universe. And this is a great immersive adaptation of some of the core conceits of Dune, which I love. So it had to hit the list, but because of some of the murkiness surrounding it, it didn't manage to itch higher on the whole, echelon of the greatest games of 2023. At number 7, we have General Orders, the new game by Osprey Publishing and the famed collaborators Trevor Benjamin and David Jack Thompson. That's a beautiful evolution of a lot of the things that they've been working on up until this point. It's a small box, really concise worker placement, area control game set in World War II. It's so easy to teach, but has a ton of tactical nuance and is such a great introduction to wargaming that I think this is one that is going to be pointed at as a mainstay for a lot of people's collections going forward. I'm a big fan of these designers working together and working individually, and I think they knocked it out of the park with yet another soon-to-be classic. Number 6 is Freelancers, one of, if not the best Crossroads game to date. In fact, I'll just go ahead and say this is my favorite Crossroads game, eclipsing my love of the very original Dead of Winter. This is an evolution of the concepts that were really cemented in Forgotten Waters, but Freelancers is tighter, more accessible, a little bit shorter of a playtime, and just gets right to the meat of the sort of Mad Libs meets RPG shtick. It's wild and ambitious, which really is the territory that Plaid Hat likes to play in, but at the same time, it's a lot more elegant than some of their prior outings, and has this core heart to it that just feels like they've struck the right tonal balance that they've been working on up until this point. Well worth checking out if you want an accessible story-based RPG while still having some mechanical meat. Number 5 is Earth, a game that absolutely pulls on all the idiosyncratic strings that I love in a great Euro game. There's engine building, there's action selection derived from a minimalistic input that just has chains of reactions and outputs, and it also plays on this naturalistic, beautiful Earth setting. Now, the game is kind of clinical, which is something that I did comment on in the original review. A suspicion I have of over-equivalency that prohibits really bizarre, buck-wild changes in the different engines that you can possibly have, but nonetheless, I've continued to love playing this game. There's a lot of momentum that you build up. There's a beautiful exchange as you watch the ecosystem develop and your resources convert from one into another, hopefully for more impactful and victory point laden resources. It's a type of game that we've seen a lot of recently in the last 5, 6, 7 years with games like Terraforming Mars, with Wingspan, with Arc Nova, and this is another really good one of those that has its own thing going for it, but draws on some of the masters. Number 4 is Earthborn Rangers. If we're talking about a cool, beautiful, naturalistic setting, well, Earthborn Rangers is a completely different approach because it is not going for any sort of realism to where we live right now, but is an extrapolation of what the world could be after cataclysmic apocalyptic events of one sort or another, in which the humanity has rebuilt. They've regrown out of the setting that you might have seen in, say, Freelancers, which on the whole is collaborative and supportive, and dare I say, even using the recent buzzword, cozy, very nice, but with an edge of danger. The gameplay is such a smooth, interesting implementation of an open world adventure that mechanically isn't too unlike something like Arkham Horror, but at the same time, it gives you the complete freedom and flexibility to define when you start and end your sessions, where you go, where you navigate, what things you investigate. The game has such a beautiful presentation. The company's commitment to sustainable packaging and presentation and components, and the killer gameplay that brings a lot of interesting, innovative ideas to a campaign-based game setting is something that really captured my heart and just kind of blew my expectations of what this game was going to be. It's one of the best cooperative games of the year, and it's just one of the best games of the year, period. Number 3 is another game that kind of feels out of time, that has callbacks to the past without having specific lineage linking to any one particular company or anything, and that is Beast, a game that feels like it could have been made 10 years ago by Fantasy Flight, but is now being released in 2023, while at the same time has a lot of modernization. It is a dense 1v-all hidden movement game in which one player is one of several different beasts that is going to level up as they play, trying to achieve some sort of goal and having their own unique playstyle, and the other players are the hunters with the same leveling up and different playstyle and trying to navigate to and ultimately confront and fight the beast. The most obvious parallel to this type of more tactical hidden movement game is Fury of Dracula, but this doesn't take the epic 4-hour slog that Fury of Dracula could often amount to, and has a lot more levers to pull to make the game more interesting and tactical and fascinating to play. This is the first time in which one of these really rich and heavy confrontational hidden movement games, where it's not just solely about identifying where the person is, but actually confronting them and doing some sort of combat, that actually paid off for me in a big way. I'm a huge fan of Beast, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what this studio ends up doing in the future. Number 2 on the list is that aforementioned other all-play game that was going to be on here, and it is Sail. Yo, this tiny little box has captured my heart. I mean, let's just think about how there are all these other amazing games that came out in 2023, big, small, that are innovative twists on all kinds of things, but nonetheless, Sail is the game. That's the one that I wanted to latch onto and come back to over and over and over again. And it's a freaking trick-taking game. Trick-taking is not my thing because I'm typically very bad at it. But the cooperative twist on this, just taking such a simple, nice, clean idea and changing trick-taking into a cooperative navigation of a boat that gives you all the anticipation, all the apprehension of trick-taking, where you're trying to decide, is this going to be the right card to play? What might they have in their hand? What do I know about what's in the deck? And then using that to facilitate the forward momentum, the steering of the ship through these treacherous waters is wonderful. I love the presentation, the greens, the blues, the yellows all working together, the illustrations of all the characters, the presentation, the components, just everything about Sail just speaks to me. It's grabbed my heart. It's one of the games that I have wanted to get to the table most this year. It's one of the games that I have the best time when it gets to the table this year. I do a lot of 2-player gaming. I do a lot of cooperative gaming, and this is one of my all-time favorite in either of those categories. Sail is beautiful. Number 1 is a recent acquisition, and if you've been following this channel, you might know that this was going to be the game because I kind of talked about it in the title of my freaking review for this game, and that is De Beers, The White Castle, a elegant, beautiful, scrumptious, extremely tight Euro that just pulls on all of the things that I love about gaming. It's a very reserved, minimalistic presentation that just feels elegant, and the gameplay mirrors that exact thing. You only have 3 actions over 3 rounds, amounting to 9 total actions in the game, to weave through all of the different mechanisms that are in it to impress the daimyo, the shogun, the head of the White Castle. There are so many different avenues through which you can approach the point scoring in the game, but they come down to really core concepts that as soon as you start to play in the game are really intuitive. It capitalizes on opportunity cost. Every dice pulled from the 3 core bridges is 1 fewer resource that you're going to have access to, and you always feel a contention between 2, if not more, varying actions that you could be taking. It's concise, it's constrained in the best ways, it is beautiful, and it is absolutely my favorite game of the year. And that is our list. But that's not the only list. There are tons of lists going around, but I'm interested in what are your favorite games of the year. What do you think should have made my list? And what are the games that you are most looking forward to in 2024? I have another list that's going to be going up shortly after this video, which touches on that very topic, but put it in the comments below. As always, thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, thanks for being such an awesome community, and have a safe new year. You know, I've been Jack for the Cardboard Herald.